Hello, Dream Team. Welcome back to our YouTube channel.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another exciting but tricky installment of Life is But a Dream with TheMakhs. My name is Makhs.
And I'm TheMakhs. And guys, thank you so much for, helping us to reach 20K. We did thank you last week. We can't thank you enough. If you haven't subscribed yet, guys, subscribe now. What are you waiting for?
We value your subscription so much. So please remember to like, subscribe, comment, share, turn on your notifications to know every time we upload a new installment.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today, babe?
Guys, today we're talking about the wait. Specifically, we are talking about sex before marriage. And we are going to answer a couple of questions that are a little bit close to home. And we are a little bit nervous about having the conversation. But I think it's important that we remain honest, we remain true, and hopefully it'll help some of you out there that have got some questions around this topic.
Yeah, and I think, babe, this topic has come up a lot, in the comment section, because we do have a lot of young followers.
Sure.
And they have been asking about, so guys, how did you deal with the wait? How did you guys wait?
For sure.
And I think for the longest time, I didn't really want to have this conversation. And we'll get into the reasons.
Sure.
And
All right, fantastic. You ready to get into it? Ready or not.
Yeah.
All right, people, let's go.
It was the summer of 2008. She said, "I would cook a lot of time with that date." Now raise it last 10 years of matrimony on cake. We celebrate. Now we're stronger together, never better. Go-getters, trendsetters, Black Panthers, the anthem. We the Makhs and we only getting better. Ay.
Life is but a dream.
So babe.
Yeah.
So, like we said, guys, I think, the topic of sex or no sex before marriage is one that, a lot of people struggle with.
Sure.
And we've been open about our sexual history, in some of our installments where we were upfront and honest. When Lerato and I met, we were not virgins. We had, engaged in sexual relations with other people before we met. And
we were in entanglements.
right? We were in entanglement. And when I was in a long-term relationship, and after I broke up with that person, I had made a decision, that I wanted to remain celibate. And the next person that I was going to give myself to was going to be my husband.
Yeah.
And
that would be me.
And the celibacy, worked, I think when I met you, I had been celibate for about a year.
Sure.
And
So when we met, I hadn't made a decision to be celibate. I was definitely in a place where I remember, and I said to a couple of people that one of the things that really attracted me to you was the fact that you were for real celibate.
Sure.
There were people in the church that were celibate. You know what I mean? And you were the real deal.
Yeah.
And at the time that I met you, I had made a decision to be celibate for you. Does that make sense? So I hadn't made the decision. So had it not been for you, had it not been for having come into a space where I met you and I was just thrown and blown over by you, I wouldn't have otherwise made that decision. Wrongly so, but I wouldn't have otherwise made that decision. And meeting you was something that I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. But she's for real. She's for real celibate.
And funny thing is, I made the decision to be celibate before I came back to Christ.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
Just after that relationship ended, and I was trying to find myself, I was trying to find God, I was trying to find meaning in life, and then eventually when I recommitted my life to Christ, I was like, then it made so much more sense.
Sure.
Right? And because I was sort of new in the Christian community, I didn't think to ask you where you were at. Because for me, it was like, okay,
it's obvious.
It's obvious, like people in the church are obviously not having sex before marriage.
Yeah.
They're obviously not cohabitating.
Yeah.
They're obviously not struggling with things like pornography and whatever, struggles that people lust and whatever. I just thought, church was a perfect place.
So you didn't think to ask? We didn't think to have the conversation.
We didn't think to have the conversation, but from what I had told you, you were aware that I wasn't gonna go down like that. Because even with the kissing, I was just like, I want to kiss on my wedding day, and
for sure, yeah.
So
and I wasn't there with the kissing part. But definitely with the with the kissing part, I was like, I'm done. Come on.
Like, hey,
I was like, come on. Like, okay, we're Christian, But when it came to the sex part, I was definitely like, I was encouraged by you. I was encouraged by your walk. I was encouraged by where you were at, and I was like, I could do that.
So was the conviction there after we met? Or
I wouldn't call it a conviction.
Okay.
That's why I was deliberate about calling it an encouragement. Like I was encouraged. It's like when you see something good, and you're like, wow, I want to be a part of that. This is actually what I desire. So as opposed to like conviction for me, sort of suggests like I'm feeling bad.
Okay. Okay.
Encouragement is like, it's a good feeling. I want to walk towards this light. You know what I mean? And that's what it was. Yeah.
And I think so, guys. So what's interesting is that I think we did really well in the beginning.
Yeah.
We did really, really well.
Yeah.
And I think, babe, it seemed like I was a bit, over the top in saying, nah, I just want to, kiss on our first, after we get married at the altar and whatever. But I think deep down I knew that if we opened that door, things could really progress very quickly, because it starts with like just that soft kiss.
Yeah.
And then it progresses to making out on a regular.
For sure.
And then touching starts.
For sure.
And then before you know it, it's over.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it would have definitely helped if I shared the conviction.
Yeah.
Now. And it went beyond an encouragement, but it was like if I owned it, because I think we'll talk about this, but I think it was my responsibility.
Yeah.
It was my responsibility to protect the sanctity of our relationship. And it's my responsibility to present that relationship before God as pure and holy, and because I didn't really own that responsibility, I think that's where things didn't quite work out the way that we wanted it to, and as a result, it compromised a lot of things, and I regret that. I have a lot of regret about the fact that. So one of the anxieties around having this conversation is that we've always, let me not say we, but so there's always been a testimony that has been shared generally of us having waited to have sex before marriage. Now,
wait, who shared the testimony?
You. So there were two,
The testimony?
No, a testimony in that this is what was said.
Okay.
Not like I'd like to share a testimony before the congregation, but there was a testimony, there was a narrative. It's another word for saying
that
a narrative.
We didn't correct.
Right?
Yes.
That we didn't have sex before marriage, and our confession is that we did.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I just want to also just take responsibility for that, and I wish we had waited. I wish we had waited for a couple of reasons. So, number one, I think I've always believed that the power of sin lies in its secrecy, and I think there was a shame that we lived with about it for such a long time, and more so my wife than myself. But because she carried it, I carried it. And the fact that I put her in that position where she had to carry this thing, you know what I mean? And it was kind of like a speck, in the sense that we just never corrected it. And I think my personality, I would have corrected it and been like, yo, we kind of tried or whatever. But my wife wasn't quite there yet, and this is kind of the first time we are having this conversation. And so today my wife had to make a couple of calls to friends and family.
To confess.
Yeah, to just say, hey guys, by the way, leskamagala. We're gonna, shoot an installment and this, that. And I never actually told you the truth or corrected you in this narrative that went out there to say that we were celibate, because that was our intention. And being in the church, that is what we should have done, but we fell off the wagon, unfortunately. So
and I think also, babe, like you're saying, just living with the shame and the guilt. Even between us, we don't really have this conversation. We don't talk about it. I think for so many years, it was our little secret, but we wouldn't even talk about that secret because I carried so much shame. And I think, a lot of people might wonder, why did you have to make calls and whatever? The reason I felt it necessary to call certain people was because we had people that we were accountable to. So when we made a decision, that we're going to be celibate, we were vocal about it.
Sure.
Because we do believe in accountability, and we do believe that, people can help you walk this walk, especially if you're transparent and accountable.
Yeah.
And when we fell off the wagon, when we made the decision to actually, have sex before we got married, I think it happened after we got engaged.
Sure.
So we got engaged 8 months after we met. And at the time, like we're saying, things started progressing, and I don't know if we let our guard down, but I moved, just for context, I moved closer to your house, because we wanted to save money. So it was going to make seeing each other, very easy.
Practical.
Plus you had sold your car, because we were saving towards the wedding.
For
and
sure.
it was just going to make everything so much easier, But I think then we started spending a lot more time together.
We were always together.
Always together.
We were always
longer hours.
together.
I remember your parents would even call you. They would call you to say, Larato, it's late. You guys are playing with fire.
For sure.
I remember your dad once
said, my dad did call me and he said, mate, this is not going to end
it's
well.
It's not going to end well.
Yeah.
And, lo and behold, we fell into our own trap. And I think, I wish the first time it happened that I had told my accountability partners. Like you were saying, the power of sin lies in its secrecy.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we probably allowed it to happen again.
Sure.
And I think after the second time, if I remember correctly, because I tried to block this because I'm just like, oh my gosh. And babe, I can't believe I've lived with this shame for 11 years.
Yeah.
And I think after the second time, we actually had the discussion and we said never again until we get married.
For sure.
Because for me, preserving our purity, and for it was very important. It was one of the things where I felt like I didn't do things right in my previous relationship.
Sure.
And I wanted to do things the godly way.
Sure.
I wanted to honor God in our relationship. I wanted to, to preserve, our relationship.
Yeah.
And a lot of people might argue, yeah, but you guys were engaged. You were going to get married anyway. But I believe that the Bible doesn't say, sex before
engagement.
Sex after engagement is right. It says sex before marriage is there are a lot of scriptures that allude to that, that speak about fornication and sexual immorality and so forth and so on.
Look, on my side, I think it was the principle of betraying your trust.
Yeah.
Because I still maintain, guys, that it is really our responsibility to preserve that within our relationships.
Yeah.
And the reason why I believe this is because, when I think about Adam and Eve, and I think about the fact that Eve, yes, as much as Eve picked the apple from the tree and she gave it to Adam, who did God hold accountable?
Yeah.
Who did God ask and say, but who told you that you were naked? You know what I mean? Like who? And it's this thing that I read a long time ago, that humanity would have been fine if Eve had just eaten the apple and Adam didn't. You know what I mean? But it was only after Adam. Why? Because Adam was the one that was held accountable. And it's this thing where it's easy to read the word and to say, when God said, well, did you eat of the tree of life? And then Adam turns and says, no, it's this woman that you gave me. And all of the guys are looking at this guy like, bro, you're such a chump. Like, what are you talking about? Like man up, take responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Especially because if you think about it in a practical sense, right? If you're in a meeting at work and the executives or the board members or whatever, and they ask and they say, guys, what happened with this? Who answers?
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't have to ask a person directly. Who's the person that answers? It's the person that was responsible that says, oh, hey, man, now they're either going to make an excuse or they're going to take responsibility, but they're the ones that answer. So Adam answered, which tells me that I'm answerable for my wife's and for our purity in this marriage, in our engagement, that all falls on me. And I think that's it. So the other thing is, you said to me in an installment earlier on that one of the things you prayed for was self-control.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's very interesting how self-control then, because we didn't practice it then, I can recognize in other areas of my life where I wasn't able to keep that up because I didn't practice self-control with you. Do you know what I'm saying? And that just as a principle is very important. But
Sure. What you're saying is so interesting, my love, because when you talk about Adam, when I think about that scripture, God actually came and said to Adam, where are you?
Yeah.
He didn't say, Adam and Eve,
Yeah.
where are you?
Yeah.
Right? And also when you spoke about, you can either make excuses. Adam started by making an excuse and said, the woman that you gave me, gave me that apple.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? And I think it's so interesting that you made that that analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, babe, I was a bit, obviously I need to take responsibility for my part, because, no, I need to, because
You're allowed
I could have just really put my foot down and seen my conviction through, but I think deep down, I blamed you. As the leader of the home, to be like, I felt like you didn't protect our union and you didn't protect my heart.
Because I didn't. Yeah. And I'm really sorry about that. I really, really, really am. I'm really, really sorry about that.
Yeah.
I'm very regretful about it.
I'm also very regretful. And I think obviously, just hearing us talk, we definitely believe in waiting.
Yeah.
We definitely believe in preserving one's purity. And I think even I've got a lot of regrets about, the decisions that I've made in my past as well. I remember when I met you and I was like, babe, I really wish that I had waited for you. Because the thought of someone walking around with a part of me that I wasn't able to present myself whole to you, just really like,
Sure.
But not all is not lost, because God,
God restores.
and especially if you go to Him and you repent and you ask for forgiveness and you really work at living a holy and pure life.
Yeah. One other brief discussion that my wife and I had before having this conversation, and actually one of our anxieties was that we didn't want to there's almost like a disclaimer in the sense that we didn't want to give permission to people that kind of looked up to us in whatever way, shape or form, right? To then say, TheMakhs, weren't able to keep it together, so who are we, type thing, you know what I'm saying? We want to categorically say that we absolutely regret it, and it was a decision that if we could do it again, we absolutely would not go down that road. I can categorically say as a man that if I could, if there was a redo, if there was a retake, I absolutely would not go down that road again for a myriad of reasons. But the most important one really is just the protection of my wife. I am solely responsible for presenting her as holy and blameless before Christ. You know what I mean? That's my responsibility, and at the end of the day, I'm responsible for it. So guys, I it's important that we say that categorically, like and I remember when my wife shared the concern with me, I responded by saying, the reality is people that want to sin are going to constantly look for permission to do so. So whether we do it in the right way or we do it in the wrong way, once you've made up your mind that you want to do something, you just need that one thing that you feel like is going to give you permission, and you're going to go ahead and do it. But we are saying that we regret it. And if you are in that place where you're kind of thinking like, whether it be because of age, because of pressure, because of hormones, because of, whatever's going on, like there is always a bigger picture, and part of that bigger picture is if you can practice self-control in this area, then it's in other areas as well where you're going to see God's goodness manifesting, and things growing. Now, don't just look at material things, because this is also a very spiritual thing, so don't think that, it's
not also, it is a very, it's the most.
For sure. For sure. And it's a covenant. One of the things that I think about, for instance, is I've got this idea, this concept, right? That before marriage, and I had this concept actually even before I got married, but I was like, guys, if you are having sex with a woman that is not your wife, you're committing adultery, because this woman may not be your wife. And so essentially, she is cheating on her husband with you.
Sure.
And the same way the other way around. As a man, if you're not having sex with your wife, you're committing adultery.
Sure.
And
I think, babe, to young people or people that are having that question, whether is it worth it to wait, because I would imagine a lot of young people. And also, babe, something that you like to say is that where purpose is not known, abuse is inevitable, right?
Absolutely.
So I think also maybe we need to go back to the purpose of why sex was created. You know, it was created by God for pleasure and procreation between a husband and a wife, to connect, you know, on a spiritual level, emotional level, physical level, you know, within, you know, a covenant, right? And I think we cannot have this conversation and not address the issue of soul ties, you know, because when you, and I said it earlier, you know, when you are intertwined and, you know, these entanglements with different people, you are leaving a part of yourself with that person. And I was listening to a sermon by Mike Todd? And he was just, you know, he was saying all these things that I've known, but he articulated it so succinctly and so profoundly, you know, and he was talking about, you know, with soul ties, all of a sudden, you know, because obviously when you have sex with someone, you connect on a spiritual level, you know, all of a sudden you leave a piece of yourself and you take a piece of that person. All of a sudden you're struggling with things that you didn't struggle with before. You know, all of a sudden you're struggling with anger and resentment, or even self-control, or whatever, a spirit of fornication or whatever, because you have been taking pieces of people along with you. And I love this. I just want to read this.
Go for
so
it.
He said, if you allow people to take pieces of you, you will never be everything God called you to be, because people are walking around with pieces of you.
Say that one more time.
If you allow people to take pieces of you, you will never be everything God called you to become, because people are walking around with pieces of you.
So essentially what it means is you're incomplete.
You're incomplete.
Sure.
You're incomplete.
Sure.
Right? Because, you know, people are walking around with, you know, pieces of you. And I think for me, that's why I was like, I regret not even waiting from the beginning. Because I remember, babe, when we were in grade 8, I took this vow of celibacy and whatever. And at the time, I had been saved, remember? So I got, you know, we shared our salvation story. I accepted Christ when I was like in grade 8. But because I didn't understand it, I was like, okay, you know, 10 commandments, whatever. But that wasn't sustainable. And I remember I took the purity. Did you guys do that?
No.
Where there were people, you know, I think... they were definitely doing the Lord's work. I don't know which organization they were from, but they would go to different schools and you would sign this pledge that would say, I'm going to wait, blah, 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 blah. So the intention, I think, for me was always there, you know, and then life happened because everyone was doing it, you know. It was just like, you know, a relationship wasn't a relationship if you were not having sex.
Absolutely. And you know, guys, it's it's hard being a Christian. Let's just put that out there, because sometimes, you know, we kind of pretend that, oh no, this thing is easy. No, we get that it's hard, but the problem is, as Christians, is that we're constantly trying to fit in, but we were born to stand out. So be okay with the fact that you are the difference. And shine in that light of being the difference, of being the example, you know. I understand, like, as a young person, you the pressure of wanting to fit in, of needing to find a place to belong, you know. But you're born to stand out. And standing out is lonely sometimes, but it's absolutely worth it. All right.
And another thing, my love, that I wanted us to talk about is that if you have fallen off the wagon, you know, it's never too late to go back to God. Because, you know, sometimes, let's say you're on a diet and then you eat one cookie and you're like, what's the point? Let me just finish it off with a 2-liter Coke. You know, so don't think that because you are in the situation and you went against everything that you believe in, everything is lost. You know, you can go back to God and ask for forgiveness, and you and your partner can start again. You can start afresh. You can preserve your purity and the holiness in the relationship again.
Absolutely.
And if you are a young person and you are saving yourself for marriage, kudos to you. You are doing
Shout out.
the right thing. You are doing
Yep.
the right thing. Do not
Yeah,
feel
for
like
sure.
you're missing out. You're not missing out on anything, until you find the right person. Then wait, and I think we'll have other conversations, about, I think we've touched on the benefits of waiting. And I think, baby, before we go, it's very important that I say this. I feel like with us falling into sin, it also created a little bit of insecurity, and the reason I'll say that is, why is it that, as women, and I think that's what sex before marriage also does, because why is it that as women, baby, like, every time, let me speak for myself, the thought of you going away for 6 months to a different country, I'm just like, that's not gonna happen. Is it because we couldn't practice self restraint? Then I'm like, what if this person goes away for like 6 months or 12 months?
That makes sense.
And they can't, practice self-restraint.
Yeah.
Because if we had waited, then I'm confident to know that, no, my husband can go for 2, 3 years, 4 years. And I think when God says don't do something, it's not because he wants to nisha us of the good life. He is doing it because he knows that it is right for us.
Yeah.
And baby, you touched on it, that when you can get that self-control right, you can it filters down into other areas of your life. I remember a friend of mine shared a very profound story with me, and she was telling me about pastor I forget pastor,
Okay.
another pastor, I wish I remember the name, the one from Benoni.
Chris Matabula.
Yes, Pastor Chris. We love Pastor
Chris Matabula.
Pastor Chris.
Yeah.
And I think it was Pastor Chris, but if I'm wrong, I apologize. But I think he was preaching at a men's conference, and he was talking about how his wife had been ill for about 2 years.
It was Chris.
It was
I remember
Chris,
that.
baby, and she was ill for 2 years, and they couldn't, become intimate. They could not have sex for that period of time while she was sick, And if you know that your man or you guys have, or your wife, you practice self-restraint, you wouldn't worry about whether, your partner will fall into sin because you can't satisfy their needs in that way,
Sure.
And it also made me think, and babe, when I think I'm so passionate about this subject, because as we you like to say, don't trap yourself. No, what do you say?
Don't play yourself.
Don't play yourself. We play ourselves. Even baby, after we give birth, so many of us are in such a rush to want to get back to having sex with our partners. Why? Could it be that we feel like if we don't satisfy that area, then the man might start feeling like, oh, okay, maybe. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe I've got options.
But it's because we didn't practice self-restraint. If you know that, no, man, we can go 2 years. What is 6
Which is not
weeks?
the idea, by the way.
But before marriage. Before marriage.
Oh, you mean before?
Before
okay.
marriage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, it was because you talked about pregnancy.
Oh,
so
no, sorry.
2 years
No,
done
my
am.
love. I'm talking
Okay,
about
cool.
before marriage. If you
Yeah,
know that
for
we
sure.
could go for 5 years or 3 years or 2 years while we were dating, what is 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
So, whew, I'm glad we had this
Are you
conversation.
okay?
I'm okay.
Okay,
I think I was very nervous, but I remember I was speaking to Skips earlier today, you know, and because I had told her for the first time, guys, this is my best friend. And even my sister, like my sister's my best friend, and they didn't know. And the reason, like I said, I didn't tell them was because of the shame and the guilt, you know, that I carried all these years. And I remember Skips was like, you know, friend, you need to release yourself. And I didn't realize that I was carrying this guilt around, you know, and I feel so much lighter, you know, and we really hope that our story, you know, or our past mistakes, you know, can help you make better decisions. Yeah.
Thank you for riding with us, guys.
Yeah, man.
That went okay.
That went okay. Hey.
Yeah, that went okay.
How
you did
you
well.
feeling?
You did well. I'm feeling great that you are feeling lighter.
Okay.
I was more concerned about you
Yeah.
more than anything. I'm not.
And I'm also glad that you had a conversation with men, because I think a lot more women want to wait, you know, I would think, you know, but I think, you know, if you know, the men out there, you know, also came with the same mindset, and you know, it's easier to wait together if you have the same
for sure
goal.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can we get into shoutouts?
Yes.
You do the shoutouts, baby. You do the shoutouts.
No,
today.
I'm so like.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Rorisang Raseroka, shout out to you, fam. Google it, Tim Kulu. I feel like we shout you out quite a bit. I might be wrong. Lynn Kakoonde, I hope that's how you pronounce it. Shout out. John Dire, shout out to you, fam. Julie Blenman Busi. Busi Taba.
Hey,
what's up, fam?
what's up, fam?
Shout out to you. Rambidzai Chigumira.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Shout
you,
out to
fam.
you.
Lesedi Mala, Nelisa Dlamini, just I'm going to stop. Nyasha Mucheka, shout out to you, fam. Michelle Ngwenya, Dineo Musamape, Bonolo Mokhotsi, Samantha Kuvare, and Ndombi Zonke Mehlo Makulu. Shout out to you, man.
fam.
We appreciate you guys so much,
we
man.
love you so much.
We love that the numbers are growing the way that they
Yep,
are. We
yep,
love that you
yep.
guys are receiving
Yeah.
what we have to say so well. We love that you guys are constantly like commenting so much the way that we do. We know we can't get to everybody, you know, with responses, but we see you and we appreciate you guys. Please remember, like, subscribe, share, turn on your notifications to know every time we upload a new installment. We hope this was valuable to you. It was really valuable to me.
It was.
For one, and I'm glad that we finally had the conversation.
Because I didn't want to have it.
No, you didn't want to have it.
And one thing that we don't want to do is we never want to have conversations just for the sake of, you know,
for the sake of
having them.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like this was Holy Spirit led.
Sure.
I think the time was right for us to have this conversation.
I agree.
And we were supposed to read our comment of the week.
You can read it, babe.
So the comment of the week, guys, while you're still here, we've probably been talking for like an hour now.
It's been a while.
But I feel like we had to do this one justice.
For sure.
You know. So the comment of the week, guys, comes from last week's conversation. So it was heated in the comment section. Did you just yawn?
I did. I just yawned, guys.
Mudimu.
It's 2:00 in the morning. What do you want from me?
Wow.
It's 2:00, babe.
So is it really 2:00? But anyway. So just for action, it's 2:00. So this is Sim. So Sim says, I used to think there is the one. Now I know that God provides favor and gives you a person you need in order to live your fullest potential. This is someone who's a perfect complement, who fits perfectly into your life, into your aspirations and your goals. Once you meet that person, you still have the choice to leave and choose what the world presents to you. When you meet the perfect complement, you may not instantly know how they're going to fit perfectly into your life going forward. I would have never experienced God's favor if I had applied my list to the T. I'm with someone who I firmly believe God knew that I needed more than just I wanted. This is incredible. This is from the installment. Right? So this is from our installment, which we titled, Is There Such Thing as the One? And do you have a list? We appreciate you. We love you. And this was another riveting installment of
Life is But a Dream with the Makhs.
Yes. One time. Too real. Yes.
Oh, yes.
We love you.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Better, ayy.